someone always seems to ask the question, why did you quit law enforcement? Or the other main question is always, how is it that police don't know the law? All right, so let's start with the academy. All right, I'm gonna try and make this really short because, the academy story is pretty short. It's not a lot, that we learned in the academy, which you guys already know that. I'm just going to confirm that right now. It's not a lot, So what did we actually learn in the academy? Self-defense, defensive tactics. How often did we go over the Constitution? Hardly ever. What we were taught is, hey, he ran a stop sign. Oh, well, that person ran a red light. So I knew how to write a ticket, I knew how to stop you and get your information. I knew all of this stuff. Now, the problem was we were always defensive tactics. It was always hands-on. I'm very well trained, hands-on, hand-to-hand combat, right? I was very well trained in that. But what I was poorly trained in was the Constitution. While on patrol one night, it was an extremely slow night. Nothing's happening. It's late, I circled the city a million times, at least my zone a million times, nothing's going on. And so I stop, and when you see cars in the parking lot, let's be honest, we're probably on the phone, there's nothing happening, we're bored, which a lot of times when you see police officers just harassing people, it's because they're bored. I'm telling you, it's just ridiculous. Now we're in the academy, we're learning what I think we're supposed to learn, that's defensive tactics. Again, well trained, hand to hand, I can defend myself. Very accurate shooter. I can shoot a gun well. Why? We did a lot of that, But I came out of the academy not knowing your basic rights. I came out of the academy not knowing if I saw you on a sidewalk recording me doing my job, that you have every right to do that. I didn't know that. A lot of these officers don't know that. And what I tell people is this, that you see officers violating the rights of citizens all the time. Some of them are doing it on purpose because they do know, but many are not doing it on purpose. They really don't know. Now, I've never had the situation where someone recorded me and I had, oh, hey, you stop, don't record me. I never had that situation. But if it had happened, I truly would not have known that, that's lawful. I would not have known that. Guess what? I don't know what at that time, I didn't know what an easement was. I didn't know, hey, private property, public property. We were never taught any of that stuff. The only thing we were taught about private property is what tickets we can and could not, what tickets we could or could not write on private property. That's it. Nothing else. No more details. The Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures. We listen, if you have probable cause, then search them. But we really didn't have a good understanding what probable cause is. When I came out of the academy, I really didn't understand fully reasonable articulable suspicion versus probable cause. All right, I didn't understand that fully. So these things were just the Fifth Amendment. Yeah, I know the Miranda. I know we read you this, that you have the right to remain silent. But if I ask you a question and you say I'm not going to answer any questions, at that time I would have been puzzled. I'm like, what do you mean you're not going to answer questions? So what I'm really saying is this. We really didn't go through details of the Constitution. And the reason I named those three, First, Fifth, even the Second Amendment, because that's a problem as well. Especially in an open carry state, you see someone walking and they're openly carrying, and you approach them like it's a problem, but that's their right. So with these, amendments, we did not really deal with them heavily. In short, we learned nothing besides defensive tactics. So I read, but it helped me to learn certain things that we never covered in the academy, like certain case laws. In the academy, the only thing we really studied for was to pass a test, and that was it. We didn't put a whole lot of effort into it. So again, one last time, when you see officers on the street violating your rights, chances are they really don't know they're doing it. Now, again, I want to put this out there. There are plenty who do know they're doing it, but there are chances that some officers just don't know. Which leads me to my next point: qualified immunity. I've received that question quite often. What do I think about it? I think it's a contradiction. Because for you, ignorance of the law is no excuse. For an officer, ignorance of the law equals qualified immunity. It's a contradiction. Hardly ever in any situation I would say that should actually be a thing. It should exist. I wouldn't say do away with it 100%, but I think it should truly be on a case-by-case basis. So qualified immunity, I think it's a contradiction, and it shouldn't exist in the form or the way that it exists now. Should you have known this? Why do you not know this? You know, and when it comes to the Constitution, anything in that Constitution that you do that you that was violating any of those amendments, I don't think qualified immunity should be applied to that particular officer, because you swear an oath to something that you do not know. Law enforcement means you are enforcing laws. You are enforcing things that you have no clue of, but yet you're falsely swearing, saying I will enforce it. It's impossible for you to enforce it if you don't know what it is. So really quickly, to sum it up, cops just don't know the law. It is what it is. And it's based on academies. 6 months, you know. If you go to like a hairstylist school, it's like 2 years, and everybody knows this, but academy is 6 months. Check this out. In the state of Georgia, you actually have academies that are 3 months, right? Look, I am not making this up. You can look it up. You have very, very short academies in the state of Georgia. Maybe in other states as well, but I know about Georgia. One thing I didn't like was the us versus them attitude. I kept hearing us versus them, and verbatim, us versus them. And I'm like, I didn't know inside it was us versus them. I've seen things around the country. I've seen things on TV, and it made sense while I was there. Like, this is why things are happening the way they're happening, because the mentality, the culture, everything is us versus them. There is no let's go protect and serve. It's us versus them. And that was something I couldn't really allow myself to get into. You know, I don't speak about these things on this channel, but I'm a spiritual person. You know, I believe in God. I believe God watches everything that I do. So therefore, for me to have a us versus them mentality, I don't think that God would actually really like that. Now, this is not to convert anybody, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God. I do, and that's the way I feel. And so therefore, that's something that helps me to stay in a straight line and monitor my own behavior. And so I couldn't deal with the us versus them mentality. I would come to work, and in the patrol room, everybody would be like, you know, at the end, yeah, let's go make an arrest. Woo. And then this big football huddle, like, you know, excitement. It's not my first, you know, it's not my main priority to take you to jail. I don't get any benefit out of that, but a lot of guys do. It's a thrill for a lot of guys. It's excitement. It's how many did you get today? I don't get off on that. It doesn't do anything for me. That was something I couldn't deal with either. The power trip. A badge and a gun will turn, and excuse if this is offensive to anybody, but a badge and a gun will turn the biggest coward into the biggest hero. And what do I mean? The biggest coward, without that badge and without that gun, couldn't defend himself without that badge and gun. But once he puts it on, now all of a sudden he's Superman. And he acts like Superman, or the evil Superman. Why? Because it's a power trip. So what I did, I'm at one department and I'm not feeling the culture. I go to a different department. Maybe this one would be better. I actually work for 3 different departments. And if I had to pick, I would say the first department probably was the best as far as the culture, because it wasn't as bad as the others, but the last 2 were pretty bad. It was a very, very strong us versus them mentality, a very strong power trip. I'm going to be the man and you're just nobody. Citizens are nobody. Another quick story. I'm on scene. I'm at a hotel. I won't mention the hotel in the video, but we're at a famous hotel chain. And the front desk wants the people upstairs occupying the room, they want them out. Me and another officer, we go up, we're talking to them. They're obviously upset, they're frustrated, they want their money back, they're screaming, they're yelling. I'm able to talk to them. You know, I do believe that God gave me the ability to talk to people. You don't have to talk down or talk trashy to people to get them to listen to you. I'm able to talk to these people and they're just calming down, and I'm like, you know, I let them know I'm not here to give you a hard time. This is their request. And we talk and they understand, and like, you know, I'll go talk to them about let them know that you want your money back, because as a paying customer, you have every right, you know, you got rights as well. And so I'm just trying to play the mediator. And lo and behold, here comes one of the super cops. He comes on scene and everything goes back haywire and out of control. Why? Just because of his attitude and his approach. I hate these super cops who I couldn't stand when super cops showed up on my scene. They would make my job a lot harder. And I was frustrated with going to work. Like, man, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to work with these guys, you know? I would like to have a career or a job where when I go to work, I'm okay with going to work. I don't want to go to work and have to feel like, man, I don't like these guys or working with these guys. And you know, when you conduct a traffic stop or something like that, people always say, I know my rights. I learned quickly, because the more I began to learn and read and really learn the Constitution and things about it, I learned that most people don't know their rights. If you ask a person, well, what are your rights? They're only going to tell you what they think should be right. They think what they think should be right in their mind, they actually think that's lawful, but it's like, no, that's not it. That's not actually what's written in the law. Your rights is going to be what's down on black and white. Your rights is going to be that Constitution. Okay? And they don't know that. They just proceed to tell you things about, well, I think this and I think that. Well, that's not the law, what you think. So most people don't really know their rights. And so what I would do, I'm the officer. If you say, hey, I know my rights, I literally stopped so many people. And I'm like, they were like, I know my rights. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, what are they? And I will wait, to see if they're going to tell me what's right. And if they, very hardly ever did I ever meet anybody who actually knew their rights. When I would meet the people who don't know their rights, I would take the time to educate them on their rights and tell them where to find this, where to look up the laws, where to go to it in the Constitution, look this up, read this. And when I did that, it wasn't smiled upon, in the department. Why? Because I don't believe in violating people's rights, and it was just one thing after another. And I was tired of my personal character being judged based off the career field that I had chosen, I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. Why? It's the culture, and naturally the citizens are going to view you that way because you're wearing the same uniform. It's like a guy wearing a bank robber uniform. Well, you may have never robbed a bank before, but guess what? You look like you may have robbed a bank. So I understand when, citizens will look at me as in the same light as everybody else.